Hey everyone, welcome to the Brand Architect podcast. Today I'm talking to someone with whom I had the pleasure to speak at her native language, which I don't do very often. It's my new online Bulgarian friend, and I want to introduce you because she's very, very relevant to what we're doing and what we're talking about. I'm talking to Des Dobreva, and she is a brand strategist. So basically, that's exactly who we want to talk to today. And let's start by you. And how did you end up being who you are?
Let me first just say you're the first person to ever pronounce my last name correctly, so thank you for that. um, well, basically, as you said, I'm from Bulgaria, and I started out my journey about 3 years ago in the branding space, and it started when I left Bulgaria, which is maybe a bit weird, but that's how it happened. I went to live in Denmark, where I still am. And basically, it was Facebook that helped me become who I am today because it was initially what helped me create and develop my personal brand.
Okay, so you basically started with Facebook. Did you use it for your personal purposes and then it became like more structured and business related stuff, or you were strategic about that from the beginning?
I wasn't strategic at all. In fact, it probably took me a year and a half to realize how important consistency is, how important branding is, because that's what my master degree was in as well. I studied brand management. So that's when I kind of started realizing how important it is. Everything I post about, everything I talk about, the way I talk about it. So a bit later, maybe a year in my master degree, I started using it more strategically for sure. And then when I started being a freelancer, because that's how everything started for me. I started using it very strategically, talking about my industry and all of that. But it was difficult in the beginning because I didn't have any contacts in the industry. So that only happened about a year ago when I expanded my network.
Okay, I see. So basically, let's try this. Let's sort of understand when you started being strategic, you basically were establishing your personal brand name so people could know you in your industry and come to you as clients. So which were like the most important decisions you had to figure out in order to know how to position you online on Facebook and other social media?
The most difficult thing for me has always been to find a niche because I tend to be not unfocused, but I tend to be interested in too many things.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's both an advantage and a disadvantage because you need to stay focused to establish yourself as an authority in your niche, right? So I struggled with this quite a lot. I started out with being a social media manager, so that's how I branded myself. So to this day, a lot of people know me because I was a social media manager. So they still think of me as that. So I'm doing kind of a rebranding thing now when I'm venturing into personal branding. So now I'm completely transforming my brand to help people think of me as a brand strategist and not just a social media manager.
Okay, I see. So let's go that way. Let's imagine that someone is in your shoes a few years ago, like the way you were in the very beginning. So how do you? I mean, I had the same problem. I'm interested in many different things. I spread myself too thin. I'm doing many different things, and as a result, you have to sort of focus and be very disciplined about sticking to one thing. So how did you manage to decide and to pick up that one thing? How does one person who is interested like us in many different things, what is the process, what he should consider in order to pick up one niche to stick to it?
I did several things. Probably the most important decision that I made that helped me out in this situation was to talk to a business coach because up until a couple of years ago, I always thought, okay, I don't need a business coach, right? Or a life coach. Those are people who can't really do anything for me. Most of them are scammers, but that is so not true. I have two coaches. I'm working with one right now, but it was the other one who actually got me to thinking about the big questions, you know. So he asked me, first of all, what type of lifestyle do you want? And let's start from there. And I never thought about it that way. You know, I always thought about it starting from what do I like doing?
Mm-hmm.
But he made me go backwards basically. And by thinking about what type of lifestyle I want, what is the most important thing to me, which is having time for my family in the future when I have one, I started thinking about how I want my business to be. So I want to work only a couple of days per week, not 24/7. And then he made me think about what am I so passionate about that I always want to be the go-to person for? What do I want people to always think of me when they say Jessie? And I realized that I want to help people do exactly what I've done. So I want to help people build their personal brands from scratch and find ways to monetize them so that they can start a business that will transform their lives so that they can have more time to spend with the people they love.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean, and I think it's like, you know, we always have this pattern of people who actually end up helping people achieving what they have achieved, and it's much more credible because you see and you know that they have done it themselves, so they know how it feels. Because I think the emotion, apart from the knowledge, the emotional encouragement and the emotional mindset is very important too. So if you've been there, you know how they felt, and most probably you're the best person to sort of approach this and know what they really need. So let's go step by step. So basically, you were able, by going back to the lifestyle design kind of thing, projecting it in the future, what kind of lifestyle you wanted, and what you were passionate about, you ended up picking up the niche of the personal branding. Usually what happens with most of us when we're just starting, even though we have picked the niche, we actually are unknown, so people don't know us, we don't have the visibility online. So even though we will be creating some stuff, no matter whether it will be a podcast or a blog or whatever we will be doing, essentially as a content strategy, most probably that won't really get the audience yet. So how did you deal with this first period when you sort of you feel like you're talking to yourself and you're wasting time creating stuff and it's not seen by many and you're not getting the results yet?
Well, two things. First of all, I feel like I kind of had an advantage because I already had a lot of people on my Facebook. So not relevant people, let me say that. They weren't relevant. I just had a lot of people. But once I started talking about my niche, once I got into that niche, those people who weren't relevant told their friends. They were like, "Hey, I know this girl. She's talking about some things you're interested in. So let me introduce you to her." So that's part of it, small part, but it's still important because it's word of mouth. And then the second most important thing that got me there was communities. So I joined a few different communities. I joined a live streamer community. My friend Livestream Katya, she has an incredible community for live streamers, and that really helped me so much because there's about 150 people there, and basically all of them are interested in what I do because they need help with their brands, since they all have businesses. So that helped, and also creating my own community. There's about 250 people there now, but in the beginning it was just a few of us, and in a few months we grew a lot because it's very focused. It's only about using social media for business. It's not personal branding, but personal branding manages to find its way there. So it
Yeah.
still helped me a lot.
Okay, I see. So basically, how did you decide what type of content? I mean, you were using Facebook as the main social media channel. So were you putting on long form written blog posts, or were you doing a live stream, Facebook Lives, or which was the main content format you were following?
Long form text, yeah, definitely. I also have a blog. But I noticed that people were more interested in reading what I post on my Facebook profile in the form of text rather than going over to my blog and reading it there. So I quickly learned that, and I started using 90% my Facebook feed, so my Facebook wall, I mean. So to this day, I find that what people say about the attention span, it has its exceptions because people read. People really read. If you manage to get their attention in the first sentence, they will read it and they will interact with you.
That's true. So let's make a little bit of clarification. When you say Facebook, and are you using your personal profile, or do you have a page or a group? What is the best to use in that case?
The best is definitely a group, I think, but the page is what has helped me the least. I think I created it only a few months ago.
I had the same impression, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very new development for me, but I do think we need a page because it is the more professional way of putting your things out there, putting your business out there. But I use my profile all the time to talk about what it is I do, about my clients and all of that. I don't go overboard. I post the more businessy stuff to my page, but people care, so they want to listen to this on my personal profile. They're used to it now. They expect it.
Okay, I see. So, I mean, since you're all into personal branding, and most of the listeners who are listening to us now are personal brands, so we're talking to coaches, authors, speakers, and online entrepreneurs. So, most probably they sort of, have many questions related to personal branding by itself. So, let's sort of understand. We always have this. Misbalance sometimes, or how to find the balance question about your personality and being authentic and versus your positioning and your brand. So how much of it should come from one to another, and how much should you share? Because many, like for example, most of the authors I have spoken with are very introverted people. So for them, opening up and sharing everything, especially like private matters, is a bit problematic. So what is this right balance? What is, how one decides the scale of it?
For me personally, I found that if I didn't get personal with people from time to time and share something about myself, then they lose interest, because they only get to know this side of you that is so polished and that is so professional and so businessy.
Sure.
Nowadays, it's 2017. Live streaming is big. Video is big on YouTube. People wanna take every chance to bond with you. So that's why, for instance, I tell people when you're creating your account on Instagram, don't use your logo as your profile photo. Use your actual face because that gives people the opportunity to bond with you ASAP. Just a side example. And I just think that for those who are introverts, who don't like sharing that much, I have lots of friends who are, it would be really good for them to get on video, get on live stream, because there you don't need to be that personal, but people can already see you. So even if you're talking about personal branding stuff or business stuff, then they can still relate to you seeing your reactions, your face, and all of that. So it really helps.
Okay, yeah. So basically, um, when you are positioning yourself as a brand, as a personal brand, so basically you are choosing your niche, you are choosing the topics that you're going to cover which are relevant to your niche, and you most probably, like the way I did for this podcast, was create this image of the person you're creating the content for. So, are there any? I mean, did you use any tools, or were there any specific questions you answered yourself in order to have the whole, package of the things, of the clarity that you had in order to, based on which to create your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts from your target audience, right? So you can't really start creating anything until you know exactly who it should be tailored to. So I think a lot of people do exactly the opposite thing. So they start by, okay, what should I put up here? What do I like talking about? And that's really, first realize what people want to listen from you. What do people think about you? What do people like hearing from you? Then start identifying who those people are and then decide what to talk about. So I didn't use any specific tools, just my mind. I wrote a lot. So I wrote a couple of pages where I answered some questions, and then I made a short little, it was like a client avatar, to be honest, something like that, like a short paragraph. that told me exactly who I'm talking to, and I didn't use the regular tactics like this gender or this from this age to this age. I used a different form of targeting, so I don't want to target people based on demographics. I want to target them based on a certain pain or issue they're having that I want to
Mm.
help them fix. So in this case, I want to help people who, let's say, are stuck in boring jobs. They want to do something more with their life, and they're very tired of doing the same thing over and over again, and they don't have enough time to spend with the people they love. So I want to help them build a business that basically doesn't need 24/7 attention once you build it up.
Okay, I see. So do you think, like, I have this counter argument by many people saying that, you know what, for some people it works really well because their personality is a better fit for this thing, but there are some people who just, no matter how much they try, it's just not for them. It doesn't really fit them so well because they're not that type of people who can succeed in this type of environment in the online space and all that stuff. Do you believe in that? Because I mean, I personally don't so much. So
No, to be honest, I don't believe in that because I mean the online environment is such a wide space. You can find all sorts of people there to relate to. You can find so many different topics like, and if you become an I hate that word, but if you become an expert in your niche, then you will find online people who actually want to hear from you, people who care about you, who respect you, and who wouldn't like that? I mean, what is the difference between having these people offline and online? Well, one of them saves you time. That's the difference, if you ask me.
oh yeah, yeah, it definitely does. It's just, there is this challenge of, and I guess live streaming sort of, helps a lot with this challenge. It's the challenge of being personal with people. I mean, many people say that, when you meet face to face, there is certain something that can't be replaced by online. So with online, you're losing part of it. But I guess with live stream and with the video and all that stuff, somehow it's becoming better than when you're having just the voice or the written text, probably.
I think it's getting better and better, yes, because 2017 is definitely going to be the year of live stream, and big corporations. It's not just SMEs, it's not people with small businesses. Big corporations are getting on Periscope, they're getting on Facebook Live, they're showing their employees their environment, they're talking with you face to face because they realize the importance of getting personal, showing the personality of the business. And when you said about some people having problems with that, I think a lot of people have trouble with just putting themselves out there online. And I have a great story about that because in my community, there's this amazing guy who I just met online a few weeks
Mm-hmm.
ago. He's called David. Um, he's from the States, and he runs his own business basically, but he's used to being on the other side of the camera, so behind it, not in
Mm-hmm.
front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Few weeks ago we were talking, and I was like, okay, why don't you get in front of the camera, start trying, do you want to do it? And he said, yes, I do, I'm just scared. Well, what are you scared of? I'm not sure. So he gave it a try one time. It was a bit awkward for him, he was scared, but it was fine. It was a fine video. And you know what, he liked it so much that he started a challenge for himself, and now he's doing his sixth video, and
Oh,
he looks so comfortable in front of the camera. It's crazy. He's like joking with you and everything. So I think he's gonna hop on live stream afterwards because this is just proof that even if you feel uncomfortable, you may love it. You just
you have to
really,
try. Yeah.
yeah, you're ridding yourself of experiences that you may love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's just what most of us are scared of is by putting yourself out there, you become vulnerable. So you sort of give the right to others to judge you, and you're no more safe from negative feedback and comments, etc. So you're sort of many people are like, no, 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 I'm not psychologically ready for this. But my counter argument is, even when you're just going out in the street to a shop or whatever you are, or even if you are in a coffee shop drinking a coffee, people still judge you because they see you anyway. So it doesn't really matter because you can't really avoid it completely. So just give it a try and see what happens. So yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
always.
yeah, that's true. So what about what many have challenge with is once they have an audience gathered around them after, original content, useful, providing value, and all those things, they are trying to get a better and better ways to engage with the audience as much as possible. So what are like the best ways to do so? What is your approach to creating the relationship and staying engaged with your audience?
For me, I mean, I'm gonna say it again, it's definitely creating my own community on Facebook, because then I have the freedom to just ask, hey, does anybody wanna jump on a call with me? We can brainstorm together if you need help with anything. So I set away an hour of my time, let's say a couple of times a week, just to talk with them, because then it helps me as well, because it's free market research as well as me helping people and them helping each other. So really, like, Google Hangouts is an amazing tool to do that if you want to put a few people on it so they can get to know each other as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are many ways to put. So basically, it's you interacting with them and also giving them the opportunity to interact among each other.
Yeah, I think that's very important, because if they're only each of them only interacting with you and not with each other, then it's not really a community, is it?
Okay, I see. So you also mentioned one thing about what you're doing, which was very important, and I guess, like, I don't know, I don't think there is any person who wouldn't like to achieve that, was actually doing what you love, doing less work, like in terms of freeing up lots of time. And the final piece, which not always comes together for many of the people out there, is and also make money. So many people have this issue. Sometimes, I'm seeing personal brands who have great content, they have a community around them, they are engaging with their community, but they sort of, they have this problem with transitioning into a paid service offering, paid product offering, and actually start charging money. So what is this? I mean, what is the smoothest way to go there? Because sometimes you also see these other people who are in the other extreme, who sort of use all these sneaky ways and are very pushy about selling their own stuff. So how are you approaching this part? Because I think if you're doing it wrong, it can damage the brand reputation you have created already.
No, yeah, and in this online industries, it helps. Oh, it helps. Sorry, it can ruin your brand completely if you take the wrong direction on this. So, I think one of the main problems is that people don't know how to put a price on what they do. So, for example, I do strategy sessions with clients, right? And I'm very tempted to, let's say, put a $20 price on it because I want to help everyone, right? But when you put a $20 price on 1 hour of your time, people are not going to expect as much value as they will expect from a $100 session. And another thing is that people don't really pay you for based on what they think you can give them. People pay you based on what they've heard from others. So your reputation is what sells. So the way to go around that, if you want to move from free to paid services, is to start getting results for people for free. Get their testimonials, put them out there for everyone to see. Put them on your website, put them on your Facebook. That's what all the smart people in this industry do. And that's how I've seen everyone in this industry around me transition from free to paid. And I've done it as well.
Okay, so basically do it for free, get the results, showcase the results, have others tell about those, and then sort of transition
And
from in
value
the.
yourself, because if you put a too cheap price on it, then that's not really investing in yourself, is it?
Oh yeah, it is, and I think the perception is the wrong one as well. Because even though you can, let's say you can afford charging less, once you do it, people think that you're not good enough. That's why you're not charging more. So yeah, there is this issue as
Yeah,
well. So
there's always this issue.
So what about when you have the community and then you transition from free to paid? You end up with your community which came to you on free terms, and then the other one who are paying clients. So what is the big difference? I mean, how are you balancing to make sure that the free ones are not very undermined, and what is the great? I mean, how as a brand are you approaching these two different groups of people actually?
I think that's definitely the toughest thing ever. What I do is I go completely against what industry experts tell you to do, air quotes, because everyone tells you be careful about how much value you give for free because people need to pay you for that and blah blah blah. I hate that. I absolutely hate it. I give everything to people for free, but when people pay you, they don't pay you based only on the knowledge you're going to give to them. They pay you for you structuring it for them, for you making it easy for them to understand. So for example, in my community, I had Instagram December, right? So every day I posted tools and specific tips about growing your Instagram account. And based on Instagram December, I got 5 paid sessions with people because they messaged me and they said, "Hey, can I hire you because I loved what you gave us and I want you to coach me into face to face to grow my Instagram account." So they understand that you're a professional. They understand that you're giving a lot to this community, but they also understand that they need to pay you if you decide to coach them face to face.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and I think it's very correct because basically, very often you don't. I mean, when you don't showcase what you can do and you're not really giving out much, you're just, oh, this is it. If you want more, you should pay. That's a little bit, I mean, you may not have created the relationship yet enough in order for others to sort of trust you enough to bypass the wall and start paying you. So I guess that is, again, I mean, we have loads of gurus, air quotes, telling stuff. And I do believe that each situation is different, and there aren't, like, there isn't one magic tool or one strategy that works for everyone. And I guess that's where one-on-one sessions are the best, because there are things which are general, but then all this general stuff has to be tailored to your own brand, to your own needs, and you have to modify things accordingly. And that is when many brands have problems doing it by themselves, and they need someone to sort of help them out to fit the thing exactly the way that fits their brand that they have created or are creating at this point. Okay, so I guess we can sort of start wrapping it up by the biggest mistake or the worst advice that you were giving when you were starting.
That I
Is it
gave someone or that
no,
some.
that you were given by someone?
Ah,
And
okay. When I started out. Oh, I know. That it's actually horrible advice because yeah, I've never folded, not even back then. So in the beginning I was only a social media manager, but I started trying to get into the one-on-one sessions. And I started for free, as I told you. And then I had a friend who was in this industry. Well, not a friend, just someone I knew who was in this industry for a few years. He was charging already, and he was charging a lot. So I wanted to know, okay, how did you do it? How did you get people to trust you, pay you so much? And he said, well, I did the thing with the results. So I gave them results for free, and then they started paying me. Oh, that's awesome. That's what I'm gonna do. And then he said, but remember, once you get them on a one-on-one call, they pay you $100. After 1 hour is over, you're done. You don't need to, you shouldn't continue. They need to pay you more. They need to pay you again for you to follow up. And I was like, dude, that's not gonna happen. Now, even if I do a $20 session, I tell them, ask me as many questions as you want. Ask me on Instagram, ask me on Facebook. I'm online 24/7. I'll help you with anything you need because you trusted me enough to pay me for this. That's how I feel about my clients. They're not just clients, they're friends.
yeah, and I think that is the important thing, because once you create the relationship and it's a both way relationship, then from losing this extra $100, you can gain so much more on long term. So it's not really a tactical decision of gaining something within the next 10 minutes or 1 hour. It's more about the future result as well, because as you said, word of mouth is worth millions, and that's what is bringing so much more than just those extra $100 that you missed. So yeah. And what about the one thing that you did that brought the most leverage and helped most to your brand up to now, which was the best decision you followed and that really brought big results?
Hmm. I think it was creating a website because it took me a while. I only created my own website a year and a half ago, something like that. And I always thought it wasn't necessary, and that's what many people think. Many people just have landing pages. So, landing page for this, landing page for that, but no website that actually showcases their personality.
Mm.
So, I hired someone to do a very simple thing for me. It was a very simple website. It's still up. And I haven't done much with it, but the fact is, it's very powerful to just have it up there because every time someone asks you, "Can I see, what you do, who you are?" I'm like, "Go to ddobreva.com. You're gonna find out so much about me because there's a video splashed immediately after they hop
Yeah.
over. They can see, how I am in real life and all of that. So it really helps.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's the best thing, especially for personal brands. That works amazingly well. Okay, so what are your plans for the future? Are you going to continue sticking to the niche you finally chose and keep doing what you're doing, or you have bigger plans? Anything to wait from you in the future?
Too many plans. Yeah, I'm sticking to personal branding. Of course, social media will always be a part of it. That is my specialty. But I'm planning so many exciting things for 2017. It's crazy. I'm launching my Instagram course this week, and then I'm going to be working on my signature program where I'm gonna take 10 people and coach them one-on-one on quitting their job and starting their own business, basically. So that's the most exciting thing, and that's gonna happen this year for sure.
Okay, well, that's amazing. So I wish you luck with the thing, and also I wish the people who enroll luck because I guess we'll be having 10 more online entrepreneurs coming soon. So that's really exciting. Okay, so let's mention your website once again. So people who want to check you out, where should they go and what should they look at?
Go to ddobreva.com and please don't go there using your mobile because my designer is taking some time off and the mobile version is not up yet. But go to ddobreva.com and you can see lots of stuff about me and possibly my sloth.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much for the interview. It was
Thank
very
you.
useful. Thanks a lot, and good luck with everything.
And to you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.